It all began quietly, behind closed doors in the echoing hallways of the WNBA's summer schedule. While most fans focused on the Fever's ups and downs, insiders started whispering about something that didn't add up. Lexi Hull's name began surfacing in trade talks. She wasn't injured. She hadn't clashed with coaches or teammates. She was simply unavailable. At least that's what rival executives thought. For weeks, murmurs rippled through front offices across the league. Indiana, the team reborn under the gravity of Caitlin Clark's fame, was reportedly listening to offers. They wanted more offensive punch from the perimeter, more three-point firepower to surround their superstar. Lexi, known more for grit than glamour, didn't fit that mold. But what started as ordinary trade chatter would spiral into something much deeper. A glimpse into how one player had reshaped the entire power structure of women's basketball. By mid-season, the Fever were desperate to find rhythm. Injuries, lineup changes, and constant national attention had drained the team's chemistry. Lexi Hull had been a dependable defensive asset, but her numbers weren't enough to silence critics. Coach Stephanie White began testing new rotations, giving younger guards more minutes. And when minutes disappear, so do opportunities. Around that time, sources say a Western Conference contender, rumored to be either Dallas or Phoenix, reached out. The proposal was straightforward, a role-player swap with potential draft compensation. A quiet transaction that would barely make headlines. Indiana was intrigued, enough to open conversations. The deal was almost done. And then nothing. Phones went dark. Emails unanswered. The trade froze mid-negotiation, and within hours, all discussions vanished as if they had never existed. Inside the Fever organization, confusion turned to suspicion. Who killed the deal? Some pointed toward upper management, others toward unseen influence. It didn't take long before whispers began tracing the source back to one place: Caitlin Clark's management circle. To understand how such a thing could happen, you have to understand what Caitlin Clark has become. She isn't just a player. She's a global brand. Her name alone moves ticket sales, sponsorship dollars, and television ratings. Her endorsements, Nike, State Farm, Gatorade, Wilson, and Hy-Vee, collectively generate more exposure than entire franchises. Surrounding her is an ecosystem of agents, publicists, and brand strategists, ensuring that every decision aligns with her image. Every social post, every press quote, even who she stands beside on the team bench, it's all part of the story being told. So, when someone in that circle learned that Lexi Hull, a teammate often portrayed as Clark's closest ally, might be traded, it wasn't just about basketball anymore. It was about optics. Lexi and Caitlin had become Indiana's golden duo. The clean-cut, hard-working, wholesome faces of a team suddenly thrust into the national spotlight. Fans loved their friendship. They appeared in community events, press clips, and viral edits together. Their camaraderie felt authentic, and authenticity is priceless in marketing. To lose that would mean losing part of the Fever's narrative, one that corporations and fans had already invested in. Within a day, according to insiders, Clark's team expressed their concern. Not as a demand, but as a firm suggestion, the kind that carries weight without needing to raise a voice. The trade was shut down. The message was clear. Some players are part of the brand's story, and brands protect their assets. For Fever owner Steve Simon, that dynamic came with mixed emotions. On one hand, Caitlin Clark had revolutionized his franchise. Attendance had soared, merchandise sales exploded, and national broadcasters were fighting for Indiana games. She had single-handedly transformed a small market team into a national draw. On the other hand, this kind of power was new and volatile. Simon had approved exploring trades to strengthen the roster, but he wasn't about to risk alienating the very force driving the team's value. If Clark's camp didn't like it, it wasn't happening. Coach Stephanie White saw it differently. For her, basketball was about performance, not politics. She had been working tirelessly to stabilize a young roster and build a cohesive system. To her, the potential trade was simply a roster adjustment, not a betrayal. But when she realized that decisions were now influenced by marketing teams rather than coaching assessments, frustration took root. The Fever, once a developing basketball project, had become a business operation first, a sports team second. Inside the locker room, the ripple effect was immediate. Some players admired Clark's loyalty. They saw it as a friend using her influence to protect another. But others felt the balance of power shift. One veteran privately admitted that when certain players become untouchable, everything changes. The hierarchy, the trust, even how coaches speak in film sessions. Nobody said it publicly, but everyone felt it. Meanwhile, Lexi Hull stayed silent. No cryptic posts, no passive-aggressive comments, just work. She trained harder, showed up early, and performed with quiet determination. Her defensive intensity only grew stronger. The irony? The same player once labeled expendable was now being hailed as indispensable. Her minutes climbed. Her effort was undeniable. Clark praised her publicly, calling her essential to the team's chemistry. Suddenly, the narrative shifted. Keep Lexi hashtags began trending among Fever fans. Local broadcasts featured segments about their friendship. It was an organic PR turnaround, and one that benefited everyone. Behind the scenes, however, the WNBA's leadership took notice. For years, the league had fought to build parity, emphasizing equal opportunity and balance across teams. But Clark's influence introduced a new era, one where a single player could quietly dictate organizational decisions. League executives privately acknowledged it wasn't necessarily negative, but it was unprecedented. If one star could quietly halt a trade, what might come next? Coaching preferences? Media policies? Free agency signings? This was power of a new kind, subtle, strategic, and brand-driven. The WNBA, still growing its infrastructure, wasn't built for this level of celebrity leverage. In the NBA, it had taken decades for stars to gain this kind of control. In the WNBA, it happened within a single rookie season. As weeks passed, the Fever organization began adjusting to the new reality. Internal conversations shifted. Every roster discussion now carried an unspoken question. How will this play with Caitlyn's team? Public announcements were reviewed more carefully. Marketing materials were coordinated with her PR advisors. Even the smallest details, press photos, captions, sponsor alignments, were vetted for brand consistency. It wasn't paranoia. It was precision. The Fever had evolved into something beyond basketball, a well-managed ecosystem orbiting around one gravitational center. Steve Simon's interviews changed tone too. Before, he spoke about competing for championships. Now his language leaned toward protecting culture and sustaining direction. Everyone knew what that meant. Caitlin Clark wasn't just the face of the Fever. She was the compass guiding every decision. But at its core, this story wasn't about manipulation. It was about modern influence. Caitlin Clark's loyalty is genuine. Her circle, though powerful, mirrors her own values. From Iowa to Indiana, she's carried a belief in trust and chemistry, and she's willing to use her influence to protect it. The difference now is scale. When loyalty collides with multi-million-dollar marketing power, friendship becomes strategy, and strategy becomes control. Lexi Hull benefited from that loyalty, whether intentionally or not. Her place on the team solidified. Her reputation grew. And Caitlyn's inner circle demonstrated just how far-reaching their reach truly was. Indiana learned a new rule of professional sports. If a decision doesn't align with Caitlin Clark's brand, it won't move forward. That's not arrogance, it's leverage. And in today's sports landscape, leverage is everything. So, was this about protecting a friend or preserving an empire? Maybe both, because Caitlin Clark represents something larger than basketball now. She's ushering in a new era of athlete empowerment, one where influence extends beyond the court and into the boardrooms. Her ability to shape narratives, control optics, and quietly alter decisions without ever raising her voice marks her as a generational force. Lexi Hull's story might fade into the background, but what it represents will not. It's the dawn of a new dynamic in the WNBA, one where the lines between player and brand, team and business, loyalty and leverage blur completely. In Indiana, basketball is no longer just about the scoreboard. It's about strategy, influence, and the quiet power of perception.